Commedia dell'arte was a significant development in the art of comedy. Commedia dell'arte troupes were immensely popular throughout the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, influencing such great playwrights as William Shakespeare and the 17th century French playwright Molière. As we have mentioned, these troupes were masters at the art of improvisation. Their comedies were broad and physical. The action was often comically violent. Comic beatings were abundant in the Commedia dell'arte. The comic work of the Three Stooges descended from the Commedia dell'arte tradition. The word slapstick was derived from a Commedia dell'arte prop. The actors wore masks to heighten the comedy and allow the audience to readily identify the character. One of the consistent elements of the Commedia dell'arte was its use of stock characters. Last time, we looked at the most significant old men stock characters of the Commedia dell'arte, including Pantalone, Il Dottore, and Il Capitano. The other groups of stock characters were the comic servants known as the Zanni and the young lovers. In this section, we will take a look at the comic servant group of the Commedia dell'arte stock characters. The comic servants of the Commedia dell'arte were the most popular characters with the audience of the time. This group of stock characters were referred to as the Zanni. During this time, William Shakespeare, who was very much influenced by the Commedia dell'arte, coined the term zany to refer to an antically comic character. He no doubt derived this term from this group of the stock commedia characters. The Zanni represented the working lower classes amidst the European society. Since this was largely the makeup of the Commedia dell'arte audience, it's not surprising that these characters were the most popular. The actors who played these roles were accomplished acrobats, jugglers, and contortionists. It was these characters who influenced such classical comedy icons as Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and the Marx Brothers. Traditionally, the most popular Zanni was a character known as Arlecchino. Later in the development of Commedia, this character evolved into a character named Harlequin. Arlecchino was the wittiest of the Zannis. He was an accomplished acrobat and dancer. His costume began as patches, but evolved into the diamond-shaped pattern we now associate with Harlequin. Arlecchino often had a shaved head covered by a rakish hat. A favorite lazze for Arlecchino was that his hat would fly off and a large bird would mistake his head for an egg. Arlecchino was also identified by the black mask he wore. He was also the first character to carry a slapstick. The slapstick was a prop that was used to create the illusion of a comic beating. A long board with a shorter board hinged to it would create a loud slap when it was swung toward a character and then stop short. The loud slap would be heard, and the character who was supposedly struck by the slapstick would fling himself across the stage as if he were really hit. The darkest of the Zanni was a character known as Brighella. Brighella was often Arlecchino's sidekick. He was cruel, cynical, and libidinous, which served as a foil to Arlecchino's witty and charming personality. He was recognized by his trousers and jacket that were braided with green. His mask had a hooked nose and a mustache. Brighella eventually evolved into a kinder, more benign comic character known as Scapino. The Zanni, known as Pulcinello, was the butt of all jokes. He was the dense servant who was always being punished or beaten for something that someone else did. His mask had an enormous hooked nose, and his hat was often pointy, an early version of the dunce cap. Pulcinello eventually evolved into the popular puppet character known as Punch, who became popular in the Punch and Judy shows. The common word punch, no doubt, derived from this character. The most unique of the Zanni was the female character, Colombina. Colombina was the only character outside of the young lovers who did not wear a mask. She was witty and shrewd. She was obviously intellectually superior to her master, and made fun of him openly in front of others. She was so sly that the master could not prevent her barbs. Colombina's most important function was to serve as a go-between for the young lovers. it is her close association with the young lovers, the only stock group that did not wear masks, that made it appropriate for her character not to wear a mask. The third group of stock characters of the Commedia dell'arte are the young lovers. We'll take a look at this group in the next section. For now, go to your task for this section, and when you return, we'll conclude our discussion of the Commedia dell'arte.